As Kenya intensifies its military campaign into neighbouring Somalia, focus is now shifting to how East Africa as a region is going to help manage the transition in the event of a victory. We're now joined about Kenya's presence in Somalia. We're joined by Abdullahi Halakhe, Horn of Africa Analyst at the International Crisis Group. Abdullahi, thanks for your time. Many people have mixed reactions to Kenya's involvement in Somalia. Kenya says enough with the piracy, enough with the kidnappings of tourists. They have to defend their sovereign integrity. Is this a dangerous move? Because in retaliation, Al-Shabaab has launched a series of terror attacks in Nairobi.
Well, I mean, like you just mentioned, the invasion of Somalia by Kenya took everybody by surprise. Kenya had every capacity to deal with Al-Shabaab from distance without necessarily committing its troop. The cost in blood and treasure of going to Somalia will increase over the next few months, depending on how things evolve in the theater of war. But the thing is, the critical thing here is Kenya is fighting Al-Shabaab. Al-Shabaab, who is Al-Shabaab? These are, amorphous, faceless people who we do not know who they are.
Yeah.
So using conventional means to fight a very unconventional group presents its own challenges. I mean, history is littered with, big army, more sophisticated than Kenyans, who've tried to deal with this kind of group. So, I mean, it is understandable when people register their unease about the whole operation of going into Somalia.
What options were available to Kenyan authorities, though, Abdullahi? I mean, you can't have a situation where this guerrilla, incognito group has penetrated your territory, is terrorizing your people. You as a country, as a government, need to take some sort of a stand, and this is probably what motivates the Kenyan government.
From the outset, let me make it very clear. Kenya has got legitimate security concerns as far as Somalia is concerned, and specifically as far as Al-Shabaab is concerned. But I mean, Kenya has also an inordinate amount of capacity to deal with this group without necessarily committing its troops on the ground. Most of the money that Al-Shabaab gets, passes through Nairobi. So one of the ways, it's not necessarily easy, probably it might take even longer, is economic strangulation of Al-Shabaab. Without money, Al-Shabaab will not have the capacity, to buy stockpiles of weapons that they have, to recruit the number of people that they have. I mean, it is one of the biggest way of, just slowly but surely trying to deal with Al-Shabaab is economic strangulation. But secondly, the other option that is open to Kenya is, intelligence gathering. Kenya needs to have, a high-level intelligence about the operations, the movement, the structure, the command and control of Al-Shabaab without necessarily going in. And Kenya has done that, fairly well before. So the whole operation of going in without necessarily taking away from the fact that Kenya has got legitimate security concern could have been done. But now the problem is, what is the goal of this operation?
Right.
What is the mission? What is the exit strategy?
Right.
And these haven't been very clearly defined by the Kenyan military in order to, take forward this operation. So it's going to be the biggest problem with this kind of operation is you might end up, being bogged down, sucked into, the entire politics of Somalia. And it's not an exaggeration to say that, United States went there. I don't think they want to be reminded what the repercussion was. Somalia was there, Ethiopia was there in 2006. So they were, you have to be very careful when you launch this kind of operation. Right. You make it very clear what your exit strategies are, the goal and mission, and how victory will look like.
Some would argue Kenya should have just gone under the auspices of the African Union that already has resource challenges, capacity problems with regards to the mission that's in there. We could argue and debate that point. What happens now? Kenya is in there. They don't have a clear exit strategy, with the exception probably of major regime change and a new kind of a transition. What is required diplomatically to get to that sort of conclusion?
That will require a very, heavy-duty diplomatic operation. The number of troops that are there, the AMISOM troop, mostly comprised of Uganda and Burundian forces, are not enough. And they have been there for a while. Let's not forget. They have not been able to pacify forget about the entire country, but even Mogadishu itself. That shows that it is an enormous operation to actually get Al-Shabaab out of the way. Having said that, countries surrounding Somalia need to contribute more troops probably, and that is not an easy thing, because AMISOM has for the last couple of months, almost now a year, asking for more troops from troops contributing country. That hasn't come through. So for Kenya, because it's a neighboring country, and ideally, Kenya and Ethiopia were not supposed to contribute troops. It's other countries around the region that were meant to contribute troops. Kenya might find itself in a situation where, if other countries, particularly IGAD members, will not be able and willing to contribute the troops, they might be forced to send a peacekeeping operation in Somalia. And that, I don't know how it will augur well with the whole process, because as it is right previously, Kenya has been looked at favorably by the Somalis. Kenya has played, a distinguished role in trying to bring peace, although unsuccessfully. Let's not forget, even the current TFG government was, brokered by Kenya. So now Kenya will find itself in a situation where it will lack that neutrality as far as Somalia will go. And the converse effect of that is, the kind of attacks that you've mentioned about. I mean, these guys can easily penetrate the border. The border is as porous as we know, and can easily cripple Kenyan tourism industry, which has just started picking up after the disaster of 2007-2008 post-election conference. So it's going to be a fairly difficult process, and I don't know how Kenya will get out of it. The other option possibly is just to come for Kenya, to take losses and just move out and probably start, by stationing the troop along the border, trying to increase border control.
Abdullahi, here's the situation. Kenya has been at the forefront of the diplomatic efforts through IGAD to negotiate a new government for Somalia. Most often those governments don't hold. We're constantly seeing new leadership in the Transitional Council in Somalia. In the meantime, Kenya bears a lot of the humanitarian costs because Somali refugees flood into Kenya, and Kenya, through aid agencies, has to provide them refuge. So Kenya's involved on a variety of fronts, not least economic fronts as well. And the broader Kenyan economy suffers, like you're saying, tourism, if you don't get a resolution to the problem. So in this very complex situation, what needs to be done, be it by the African Union, be it by the regional IGAD, be it by the East African community, Kenya as a sovereign state, what needs to happen to get a grip on the Somalia crisis?
There are no easy answers to Somalia's question. And between me and you, I mean, if there were easy answers, by now, I mean, it wouldn't have taken over 20. I mean, this is the 20th year to find a solution to Somalia's problems. But that is why it requires a heavy-duty diplomatic effort from countries that are surrounding Somalia. This includes, countries like Ethiopia that has got a tremendous role in Somalia. Kenya should also be trying to get, diplomatic effort. I mean, one of the things that we are seeing right now is the Minister for Foreign Affairs has been going, to AU, to the IGAD countries, and trying to get as much diplomatic support for this process. But I think this is coming late into the game. For Kenya should have tried to consolidate as much, diplomatic effort from the region, and then probably broader, like from multilateral organizations like the UN, AU, before launching this operation. So it's like we are putting the cart before the horse. Yeah. But now that we are there is no two way about it. We need enough diplomatic effort. Like, probably this is an opportunity for international community to focus once and for all, bring a collective effort, laser focus on the Somalia question, and try and find a solution. There are no easy solutions in these kind of situations, but we might need, diplomatic effort. We need more troops. We need a stable government. The TFG, even if Kenya pacifies some of those regions, the TFG doesn't have the capacity and also the legitimacy to be able to take over those liberated areas. So we have to leave it there, Abdullahi. Thanks so much for your impassioned plea, and it's been a great analysis, and hope to have you on the show again. Abdullahi Halakhe, an analyst at the International Crisis Group.